Hello, entrepreneurs, dreamers, business owners, and happy people with high hopes. Welcome to Cashflows with your host, Cash Matthews.
All righty. Well, hey, welcome here this evening. My name's Cash Matthews. This podcast is called Cashflows, and we're ready to get the party started. We're here with my friend Kenneth B.O.N.G, and got a guest here this evening, and we're very excited to get this thing going. And Cashflows is a place to answer the bigger questions in life, where we find out, do hot dogs really require ketchup? And what kind of bait do we use to catch a largemouth bass during the spawn? But we've also found there are other deep questions in life, like, can you imagine a world without hypothetical situations?
I'm still waiting for the answer on the fish bait one.
Oh,
We're a few episodes in, and we don't know that answer yet.
Well, we actually do. We'd have to be on the water and look at the sky.
Oh, okay.
Then go home and watch movies or something.
Oh, that's the answer to that question.
Anyway, we are here to have a little bit of fun. Are we recording for the? We're going to be on YouTube as well.
We probably should record video with this episode. What do you think?
Yeah, we just put the video. There's going to be a weird blank up there. We're going to be like
it'll just have your Cashflows logo the whole time.
It'll be like the Watergate incident where we didn't videotape. But hey, we're new at this.
Hey,
and anyway, glad you're here. So I am here with my co-host and my co-conspirator in all of this, Mr. Kenneth B.O.N.G. Kenneth, welcome to Cashflows.
Well, thank you.
And the proverbial question: what's a guy like you doing in a nice place like this?
Yeah, I got to be honest. As much fun as this is, the real story is I lost a bet with my goldfish. So here I am.
Another gambling kind of thing, putting you in a compromising.
It was an awkward situation. So I just pony up and own it.
All right. Well, we're glad you're here today, and we're just going to pass on by Kenneth. He has a lot of answers to one question, and we love it when he spews his wisdom upon us. So thank you, Mr. Kenneth. So Cashflows is a podcast designed to help entrepreneurs and business people, families and individuals move forward to the next step. And we employ a philosophy called fire, aim, ready. And, so many people get into a spot, Kenneth. They just don't pull the trigger. And here in Oklahoma, we call that fixing to. I'm fixing to.
Hitting to.
How come you ain't fixing 3? I'm fixing 2. I'm sorry. Can I talk about Oklahomans that way?
Yeah, get her done.
Anyway, so we are excited tonight. We're a program designed to ask and answer big questions. Tonight, we have a special guest. Michelle Hammons is here. Michelle, welcome to Cashflow. Sorry I butchered your name there. That's pretty ordinary for me. And say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, Cash.
All right. We're going to dig in with her and give her some grief here in a minute. Michelle has a program called the Creativity Playbook, and you can find out more later at creativity.playbook.com. Did I say that all correctly?
Yes.
You can correct me if you need to. Well, because this is a one-shot show.
We'll allow it.
Yeah, we're going to allow it. Okay. And anyway, so we're glad that you're here. We're going to try to have some fun with this. And all right, man. Kenneth, have you had a good day?
I have. It's been a very full day.
We have been in the studio for a while.
Yes, we've been rocking it out in here.
Yeah. Did you learn anything today?
A few different things.
Yeah, like not to do podcasts with your buddy Cash?
No, that's not on my list yet.
Okay, well, let's.
Yeah.
I think we're doing pretty well.
We are.
Okay, well, so Michelle, we're going to just jump right in with you. We're going to talk a little bit first about this weird organization that you and I and Kenneth are part of called the B.O.N.G. There we go, the Business Owners Networking Group that we formed for some reason, and you showed up, and now we're all three here sitting in a 4x4 closet in South Tulsa. Tell us your perception of the B.O.N.G. and what it means to you and what you've done with it and just how's it worked for you. Tell us a little bit about the B.O.N.G.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to thank you for bringing the B.O.N.G to Tulsa. This has been a fun experience to be a part of. And I learned about the B.O.N.G back in February, and there was an event going on that Erin invited me to. And she said they're gonna do bowling. And I was like, there's a networking event that they're gonna do bowling?
Yeah.
This leaves a question mark in my mind about what's going to happen at this bowling alley. And so I also had told myself I need to get out of the house. Just coming out of COVID, I work from home, and just to meet new people and really get around some great people. And entrepreneurs are great people. So when I learned about the Bong and Business Owners Networking Group, I was like, let's go to the bowling alley and see what this is about. And I showed up and there was like 350 people at the bowling
Yeah,
alley having a
that
good
was a big
time.
event, right? There's not a lot of networking groups that are. I mean, it's kind of an odd deal. Keep going. I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, so that was my orientation, and I was pretty excited that this was going to be life and business a little differently than traditional networking that I had been exposed to. And so, right up following that, right up was the talent show, and that was super fun because we had showcased all this entrepreneurial business owner talent, and it was just a fun evening out. And entrepreneurs, they work hard, and they don't always
That's
have
true.
time to have fun. And I think at that event, someone said, and you would, I think, hosted a prom. I didn't get to attend that. But, most of us didn't go to prom that came from an entrepreneurial background. We were busy working,
Yeah.
taking care of life and business. So my orientation was this is going to be something different. And then the speed at which it's growing and the people that are craving connection, real friendship, real outreach, and doing life and business together, most people just don't relate to that unless you're in that swimming pool together, right? And so
Right.
you're just bringing this amazing group together and growing it, and we're just having all kinds of fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a hoot, right?
It's
Like
been a lot of fun.
to have 300 people at the bowling alley twice, and to have a prom and to create a fraternity. Tell us about your jacket right there. You got one of
Yeah.
the rare
Yeah,
Bong hoodies.
so I love this because in Oklahoma, of course, as you've made some fun jokes with, Bong kind of has a different impression, but it really does stand for Business Owners Networking
Right.
Group, and just being a part of something, being a part of a tribe. You've mentioned that, and sometimes it can get a little lonely being a business owner, and you feel like you're maybe isolated or away. So I think this really brings together a tribe of people who are committed to freedom, to committed to taking care of family, to committed to maybe a generational business or an idea that flourished for them. And we need a tribe in life.
Right.
We need that.
Yeah. Well, we came here a couple of years ago and started the Bong, and we had very simple ideas, and it was just meet a few people, and honestly, that's what we've done, and the group has grown to, as we're sitting here speaking, I'm sure this will be a benchmark that we measure against. But here we are, 5,500 members, 1,000 visitors, and there's more good stuff going on. And the thing that amazes me on day whatever this is, 2 years, the thing that still amazes me is just the people,
Mhm.
like the people, and you said it so well, that we're doing life with, and we just continue to do that. 12 of us just booked a place to go in Broken Bow for 5 days. And they're like, hey, let's go to Broken Bow. Okay, let's go to Broken Bow. And when you have a group of people that you like each other, you know each other, you have some commonalities, that is the beauty, not just of the Bong, but like in life when you do life together. So, well, let's talk about growing up and where you grew up. And what we want to do is lead up to you as an entrepreneur. When did you first begin to realize, where'd you grow up? When did you first begin to realize that, hey, I may not be like the other kids?
That was early on for me. I think maybe I can go back to kindergarten, but for me, I grew up in Tulsa, and I come from 4 generations of self-employed people.
Oh, wow. So it's in your blood.
I can't get it out of my blood. It's like in there. It's like the DNA is thick, right? And so my mother's father, he owned a Christmas tree business and land clearing business the majority of the rest of the year. And so most people in Tulsa, if you grew up here at 21st and Sheridan, there used to be a huge Christmas tree lot there, and most people went there for their Christmas trees. And this time of year, which is always endearing for me, I have my little pine cones on. I can talk about those. Is we sold Christmas trees. We were at the Christmas tree lot.
So you were helping out as a
Oh
child?
yes, there was such a thing called child entrepreneurship in our family household. So we were brought along to appointments, to take care of
Yes.
clients, to listen to business transactions. And that was true for both sets of my grandparents. So my other grandparents, they owned a carpet and drapery store in Cleveland, Oklahoma.
Right.
And they were in business for, I think, 45 years.
Oh, man.
And service people. And I still run into people that they laid carpet or did custom drapes in their house. And so the roots of entrepreneurship are deep in my family. And what I didn't realize until now, and I'll be 53, I'm 53 this year, is how much every experience and every touch point I had growing up has impacted my life in such a huge way. And some of these people aren't here to ask the questions, right? That I
Right.
have the burning questions of how did you do all of that and manage to go on vacation? And how did you decide what hours of operation that you were going to stand for or not? And so just through those experiences growing up, I just had so many exposures to it through my mother owned a interior design business. My father owned a construction company. And so I was exposed to not only just lots of different kinds of business, but a lot of service business where you really have to do the work. You have
Right.
to show up and take care of people.
So you have these early memories of entrepreneurship. Your grandparents were entrepreneurs, right?
Yes,
Did they get to see you become an adult entrepreneur?
they did. They did. And so my earliest experience with entrepreneurship was about in eighth grade. And I decided I wanted to go to cheerleading camp and I needed a way to pay for it. And I was the coach for a younger team. So I ended up selling, I don't know, thousands of blow pops to earn enough money to pay for camp.
So you sold candy at school
I sold candy.
or wherever.
I had contraband. That I sold, blow pops. And yeah, I don't know how many I sold, but it was a lot. And it was not a lot of money, but it was kind of my first experience with, hey, you can do something in exchange for money and you can get to do what you want. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. So when did you become like an adult entrepreneur? What were you in college or high school or
Yeah.
walk us through like when you could vote
Yeah.
and after that?
So I've always probably dabbled in a business in multiple ways. But really, I think the first business I owned was a candle business, candle making.
Okay.
And it was born out of a hobby, which a lot of entrepreneurs, they like something, they enjoy it, so they start a business. And then before I knew it, I was making candles round the clock, which wasn't exactly my plan when I started out. There's a high demand for that business.
Wow.
And that led me to what I really wanted to do, which was photography. And so I opened a professional photography studio and I ran that studio for about 15 years, doing high school seniors, family portraits, and weddings. I did a lot of weddings. And that was just such an experience of purpose. It really started me on this whole other plane of purpose because I was working with people and their image, and we all want to look good in pictures.
Sure.
And so I learned a lot about the human psychology of what people want in their photographs. When
Yeah.
you're,
These days, if you take a picture, uh, uh, that's usually the females that want you to take 37 of them so they can pick the one out that looks the best of them.
That's
you
right.
gotta hold it at the right angle. Then they yell at you if you catch them like with their eyes shut or something. So here's what I've learned about photography: don't do it.
Well, and I started at the time where we were still doing medium format film. So I went through the transition of watching technology transform an industry
Wow.
from film to digital. And today, now a photograph might not be the real photograph that you started with.
Right.
Compared to then, you had to get in the dark room and really do a lot of things to it to make it different.
So you had your business for 15 years, and your grandparents got to see that.
They did. They did. My mom, so I started that business because I was in corporate alongside of doing photography, and my mom got sick. And I had to have a different path. And I needed more time freedom and I needed more financial freedom than what a day job was going to offer me. And she required a lot of care. And so that enabled me to really do portraits on the evenings and weekends. So my brothers and the three of us could coordinate her care. And that went on for 5 years
Wow.
during that time.
Oh, okay. So let's just open up. What was that like for you? Like you're doing an entrepreneurial thing so that you can take care of your mom.
Yeah, it was life changing because at that time I was single and I was working through I owned my own house, and so I had to figure out how am I going to own my own house, take care of my bills, take care of someone else, and do all of these different things that life was calling me to do. And it was a really powerful time in my life and a really powerful experience to walk through.
So my wife, Katie, took care of her mom the last 10 years of her mother's life. And I both understand the difficulty in it for having been through it. But on one hand, like it was also beautiful, right? I mean, did you have that same experience helping your mom?
Absolutely. I I wouldn't trade that experience for anything because there's so many endearing moments, even though it's hard. And some days it feels like you're not going to be able to push through. I mean, it
Right.
can get really hard being a caretaker. And I was a caretaker to my grandmother more recently because my mom passed away in 2001. But during that time, you get pushed to your limits, your upper limits, and limits you didn't even know that you had. And, you know, I'm a faith person, so God shows up, right, and gives you this supernatural energy to keep going
Right.
when it gets hard. And so to create photographs during that time was super meaningful because that's the legacy that we have left over. You
Right.
know, photographs are one of the only things that make time stand still. And so when we look at those portraits today that are priceless because you can't go get them, it's meaningful work.
Right. So you leave the photo industry. Then where do you head?
So I've had a technology love for years, and so I've been in and out of corporate with that technology background, and kind of the same thing. I made my way up through middle management and did corporate as well as being an entrepreneur. I've always kind of had two things going on at the same time.
Right.
I
Side
enjoy
gig, or
working.
is that what they call it, a side gig or
Yep. Yep.
side
Yeah.
hustle?
But for the same reasons, I had just set my path where I knew that. So my grandmother lived to be a beautiful age of 96,
Wow.
and she lived outside of town, an hour from my front door. And so and I knew that time was going to come calling, where I was going to be stepping up again to help when the time came. And I knew I would leave my corporate job when that time came. It was never a question. And so because of the emotional work that photography afforded me, because when you walk a bride down the aisle with their dad or back with her husband, it's emotional, right?
Yeah.
You're in the midst of something really special.
Sure.
And to find a job that creates something like that, I was like, what am I going to do? And actually another member of the Bong, who has been a friend of mine for maybe 15 years, she said, I think you should maybe think about being a coach. And I'm like, okay, what does a coach do? You know, and so that led me on a journey to unpack what I'm doing now and have been doing for the last 7 years, which is working with business owners and entrepreneurs in high performance coaching.
So, okay, so we're going to go into the now. What a great upbringing, though, that you've had. You got to watch entrepreneurs. You got to be part of their endeavor as a child. You
Yeah.
got to go grow your own thing. You were able to walk away from the corporate world.
Yeah.
And now for the last 7 years, you've been doing your high-level coaching.
Yes.
And what do you call high
High
performance?
performance coaching.
Got
Yep.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the Creativity Playbook.
Yeah. And my belief is that, each of us are gifted with the talents on the inside that we're supposed to bring to life. Some of us figure it out sooner than others. And when we really work from that creative edge, those are the gifts that we're given.
Right.
And every one of us has different talents and abilities. I know you have amazing talents and abilities, and so does Kenneth. And we're all three really different in our own respective discipline. And so I think sometimes people get caught up in, well, if I compared myself or if I thought about, becoming something that's not my intended purpose, then you might not be as fulfilled.
Right. So let's start with the formation of high performance coaching. You got some advice from somebody that said, "Hey, you should be a coach," and like, because that's an odd career. I mean, it used to not be a thing. Now it's a thing. But you must have been one of the early pioneers for really doing, hands-on coaching with people. So first off, who are your clients? Who do you work the best with? Who do you make the biggest difference with?
So I work with multidisciplinary people. So when I say that, I mean somebody likes to dabble in more than one thing. They kind of have that insatiable appetite for playing in different sandboxes.
Ooh, I feel like you're looking at me right there. Kenneth, can you take over here?
Sure. Yeah.
And or they might be leaders of leaders. So, I work with franchise owners, I work with business owners, brick and mortar, I work with online business owners. I work with a variety of different kinds of people, but the ones that are my favorite are people who have a vision and they want to do more than one thing in the world. That vision can be something entrepreneurial and something nonprofit. So they may want to have two different things that they focus on at the same time, which
Right.
gets even more challenging.
Wow.
And so my journey to becoming a high performance coach started in 2017, and each year I go do something to grow. And I ended up at this conference, and everything that I didn't even know they offered coaching as a certification. And as soon as that information was made available, it was just a split-second decision. I knew this was the right path. But the reason why I knew that was the right path is because a few years earlier, I became debt-free, and I worked really hard on that goal to do that. And so for anybody out there, you can do it. If I can do it, you can certainly do it. But I wanted to give myself a gift for that reward. And when the time came, I thought I was going to buy myself a camera. And so when the time came, I was like, I'm not supposed to buy this camera. What else am I supposed to do? And I waited almost 5 years until I was sitting in that conference. And as soon as that message came through, it was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And it just elevated everything. And it's just changed the trajectory of my life. It's changed the trajectory of other people's lives because I decided to do my purpose.
So the thing that you bought for yourself was like the advanced training for coaching?
Yeah, it was a certification.
All right.
I gave it as a gift to myself.
What a cool idea. You ever think about doing, I mean,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it's,
Because I know how much camera equipment is, and I don't know. That might put me back in debt. That might not be a way to celebrate being debt free.
yeah, that makes some sense. So who are the clients today that you want to find the most? Let's talk about who you want to connect with and who you can help.
So the people I help the most is those that are struggling with their vision or their purpose,
Okay.
and to really help them unpack, because sometimes it's an idea that comes and it'll kind of keep recurring or showing back up, and it's like, well, maybe I could do this, or I think I can do this. And to really start taking those dreams and inspirations that might be floating around, that might recirculate from time to time too,
Right.
because that's what happens when you find your purpose. It keeps coming back to you till you finally get the memo.
Right.
And we start to take that idea and really map it onto the highway, right? Put some mile markers to it, put some goals, put some specific details to begin the planning of that idea. And sometimes it's already matured and maybe they're going to another level. But also sometimes it's like, well, I think I'm supposed to leave this thing I'm doing and go do something else. And because I've walked through that a couple of different times through my life experience, I feel like I can really help people have the courage it takes, have the know-how that you can put a plan together. And if you keep doing enough reps, you're going to get there.
That makes sense.
But not to give up in the process and not to give up on your dream.
So what is the process then when you work with a person with high performance coaching? What's it like? I mean, you've met them, they need the help, they like you, you've agreed, we're ready to go to work. It's day one. What are you guys talking about?
So the first thing we do is we set the foundation. We're going to, what's important, and each person, it's wrapped around them. It's like a big cuddly blanket, know? And it's outcome driven. So we want to make sure that each session is moving you forward. And so it's science-based. So the program that I'm certified in, they did a lot of studies about what makes high performers. And we work from that data and the science that says this is what it is. And it's from the High Performance Institute. And that really makes a difference because sometimes coaching can be a little bit about complaining. Someone gets stuck and they don't know how to get unstuck. So this is very directed and it's outcome driven and different than maybe traditional coaching. It's a little bit like coaching on steroids.
So you start with a goal. Hey, I'm stuck. I need to make this much more money or accomplish this much more. And does it begin with a goal planning type conversation?
Yeah, we set that foundation of what the person's trying to accomplish. And once we have that clarity, which can ebb and flow and change, we go into a deeper clarity, right? Because specificity is where we get the action items. And if you're not clear enough or if something feels foggy or fuzzy, you're just not going to get there. You've got to get that photographic picture, right? It relates to photography so much, the metaphors that go with this. And each session is designed to move you forward. So we spend an hour a week talking about those things, developing action items, collaborating, really developing things out so that person can really know what they need to do between now and our next session.
Right.
And it's a progressive thing and it's evolving. And a lot of the clients I have, they'll stay with me a couple of years because they're working on big goals.
Right.
But the value is that when you have accountability, when you have someone looking out for those blind spots, when you have someone that can say, I know it was hard this week, keep going.
Right.
I believe in you. I believe in your dreams. And I do believe that about people. I believe that they're gifted those.
So do your clients reach out to you, like if they're having a bad day and like, hey, this isn't happening and I'm struggling and I can't see it, Like, how do you spring into action? Is that just a conversation they'll have with you?
Yeah, typically our engagements are every week, but when you work with me, I don't want you to be stuck between our sessions.
Right.
So I always extend that opportunity. Send me an email, send me a text, WhatsApp. I mean, we have so many different platforms now.
Sure.
And just to be able to move you in between those sessions, because sometimes something hard will happen, something really challenging that will knock us off our game. And just a little bit of unpacking and clarity can help them continue to make progress in between sessions.
One of the, I've worked with entrepreneurs now, literally most of my business life, 42 years. And I do the thing I do for a living, but I love to work with entrepreneurs. And that's why our bond group exists. And I love to visit with them. I don't charge them. I just love to be part of the conversation. And the hard part of the conversation for me with any entrepreneur is when I ask them, what do you want? My other job was waiting tables. I waited tables. That's how I got it all going. I'm 17, 18. It was very easy. We walked up and they had a menu to choose from. And I wonder where we lose it as adults to realize that the menu we can choose from is just unlimited. And I have trouble, Kenneth, getting people.
Mhm.
It's my number one question I ask everybody that I visit with. Hey, what do you want? And I'm not clearly not fancy, but that's a fancy question because most of the people will tell me what they don't want
Mhm.
rather than what they do want. And I've always been really fascinated how people are beautiful and amazing, and just helping entrepreneurs get unstuck. It sounds like you're onto something.
Yeah, and as you say, it's fascinating. Some people know when they're 5 years old what their purpose is. They have such clarity. They might draw a picture of the thing they're going to become, a pilot or whatever that might look like. And then some people it takes decades later. But
Right,
but we all are on that journey wherever you are at your mile marker. And so working with a coach, you just unpack that so much faster.
right.
You just get to it, get to the root of it so much faster.
So I know that people when they're doing their coaching with you, they're gonna talk to you about things on the path that are slowing them down, right?
Oh, most definitely.
Okay, so now we're gonna talk to you about those same things.
Okay.
And we would, because I think it's great when somebody's operating at a high level, but they're authentic with you and go, hey, here's where my struggle was.
Mhm.
So what are some of the things that Michelle Hammons had to overcome?
Yeah. Well, my business name being Creativity Playbook, I have a creative wonderland of ideas that show up every day. And while this is a lot of gifts that I can give to other people that are not my intended designs or ideas, it's something that I have to really be careful with because I wake up in idea wonderland. It's like 10,000 new ideas come every day, and I have to kind of put them at bay so that I can stay focused on the most important things. And so that clarity piece for me, it has to be as clear as a picture. And I also have to make sure that the picture doesn't keep changing with the evolving ideas
Oh, right.
because you have to have your version one. You have to get to version one. You can evolve to version two and beyond, but the most important thing I think I've learned is you've got to get that baseline established for yourself
Right.
without adding a lot of colorful details every day and changing it up and creating a masterpiece work of art.
Got it. So you work, and I'm guessing a lot of the people you work with are very creative types as well.
I work with both. I work with process people, corporate people, artists. I love working with artists because we can get down in the soul of artistry.
Well, we had an artist on our show recently, and we loved that conversation. But in no way can I relate to it. I
Mhm.
thought that was just beautiful. So where does creativity originate? Where does it come from?
I believe it comes from God. I
Okay.
believe that we each are gifted our creative uh, abilities. Sometimes that's engineering, sometimes it's performance art, sometimes it's painter art, sometimes it's technology art. But I believe that the roots of our ideas are given to us as gifts.
Right. Well, I don't know, Kenneth. You're a creative type as well, being a photographer,
Yeah.
videographer, and podcast genius. What do you think about creativity? How does it fit into your life as a photographer?
I'm actually on board with that definition pretty well myself. So, um, ultimately, that source of that um, inspired. Trying to think of what the word is now. That I'm trying to be creative with a good word here. Um, that we are designed with a purpose, And so just being able to kind of find that for ourselves and creativity, I think helps us do that a lot and helps kind of point out those differences between us too, right?
Right.
The things that make one person creative, kind of like you mentioned, all the different kind of facets or areas of it. One person might be creative with photography or with technology or with something else. Um, then that's kind of what makes us all unique, and I like that.
Cool. So Michelle, I mean, you've got a purpose. You found it. How did you do that? Like and I always feel like that's like a aha moment, a wake up moment. What was it like for you when you went, man, this is it?
I think that moment really showed up for me in that distinction of life and death when my mom was sick.
Okay.
That nanosecond of when you have someone here and the next nanosecond they're not here, all of a sudden you get a big wake up call.
Okay.
And I think I heard this resounding voice that said, if this is how much time you have left, you need to go be more purposeful and live out your creative edge and live into other people and help them unpack what they need to unpack.
Beautiful. We're here with Michelle Hammons, and we're talking just about creativity and how to develop into a high and impact performance kind of performer. We're going to talk about her website again in a minute, but first we're going to say hello to some of our advertisers. Mr. Kenneth, can you help us?
Hello, advertisers. All right, so listeners, before we dive back into today's episode, we've got a special shout out for some of our amazing sponsors. This podcast is coming to you from the studio at Elevate Coworking. Signage is provided by CM Customs and features amazing entrepreneurs from the Tulsa Business Owners Networking Group. We're sponsored by MFP, My Financial Plan, online at joinmfp.com. And this show is produced by the audio-video expert at Kenneth Baucom Photography. With these amazing sponsors at top of mind, let's return to Cashflows, already in progress.
All right. Thank you, sir. And thanks to all of our people that help bring this show out to the public. And thanks to our people who are on the show that want to share with their world as well. We're talking tonight with Michelle Hammons, and she has the Creativity Playbook. You can find it at creativityplaybook.com. And she is a high-performance coach. And we've been talking this evening about her journey into entrepreneurship, her history in entrepreneurship, and when the light really clicked on for her. Michelle, one of the things we like to do as we wrap up in our sessions is get a gold nugget from our person, and it can be personal and it can be business. But if you were standing up in front of all the people that needed something right now, and you're the only one that can give them one thing to say, what would be that nugget that you would share with your fans and your friends out there?
The nugget I would share would be to go for your dreams, to take your vision and talk to somebody. Don't let it sit there and collect dust, because you don't know where that vision can take you. And it's coming to you for a reason that you might not have any idea where that's going to land. And today in our business environment, there's more opportunity than ever to be successful as an entrepreneur.
I agree with that.
And so we have less obstacles.
Well, I think you just described fire, aim, ready
Yes.
for our listeners. And
Yeah.
I am so glad to be around people like you and Kenneth who not afraid to pull the trigger. And the story you tell about being an entrepreneur as a child and selling Christmas trees and, being able to share that time with your family is very beautiful. And we appreciate you sharing that here with our listeners. So, Kenneth, I think it's time that we wrap it up. Are we about ready to
We are
send
just
this
about
one
ready.
into post? I'm trying to come up with some fancy words. Let's send it into post.
Let's do it in post.
I don't even know what that means, but
No, that's okay.
okay.
We'll take care of it in post.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up tonight. Thank you guys for being here as a listener. If you will download this and share with your friends, that does a great deal to satisfy mine and Kenneth's very fragile egos, and we appreciate that. We're glad that you stopped here with all of the sponsors Kenneth mentioned, and we really enjoy, being out here and working with the world. So until our next show here at Cashflows, until we gather again, y'all make good choices. Be nice to each other, love one another, and make this a wonderful day. And I'd also like to say good night to our 4 listeners in Shawnee, Oklahoma, where I'm from. And by the way, if you're one of those 3 people that is always liking our posts, I wanted to let you know, hey, I'm running over to Quick Trip. Y'all need anything?
That's our show for today. Stay tuned for another riveting edition of Cash Flows.